Welcome to our webinar today, Cross-Channel Marketing That Converts. If this is your first time joining one of our Local IQ webinars, we are especially excited to have you. Local IQ is an award-winning multi-channel digital marketing agency, and we specialize in SEO, digital PR, paid search, paid social, display advertising, website design, truly the full mix. So as we're talking about cross-channel marketing today, you are in definitely good hands. And we're also a part of the NewsQuest Media Group, which means when businesses work with us, they also get access to more than 200 trusted news brands across the UK. So yes, even print advertising in newspapers and online display advertising across these news brands can be a part of your cross-channel marketing strategy as well, again, when you work with Local IQ. I'm Brandon Griffin, and I'll be your facilitator for today's conversation and presentation, which is being recorded. And so after today, you'll receive the recording and the webinar slides from today's session in your email. And so you'll be able to go back and review everything that we are going to cover at your leisure and at your own pace, because I'm going to go quite fast to try to make sure that we cover as much as we can within our 45 minutes together today. Cross-channel marketing uh, is not about simply being everywhere. It's not just about running a lot of campaigns across a lot of platforms. It's about making sure that each channel has a clear role and that each channel supports the customer journey. So everything should support the customer journey, but also have a clear commercial outcome for your business. So, in other words, it's not just about more marketing, it's about making sure that your marketing is connected. And so today, as you see on the screen, we're going to talk through what cross-channel marketing is. We're going to give you a quick 4 simple step framework that talks about how you can go from understanding your audience and their intent to making sure that all of your messaging across all of your marketing channels actually speak to where they are in their customer journey. And then finally, we're going to take you through a case study. We'll take you through a real campaign example from the Craft and Lucia Restaurants, where Local IQ used a connected approach across paid search, SEO, digital PR, display advertising, and so much more to help that business make some really good measurable business impact. And so that'll be a great example to end today's session on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing to know as we talk about cross-channel marketing that is actually going to convert uh, business and opportunity for yourself is that customers don't experience your business in channels. They don't think I'm going to, I'm now in the paid search strategy of my journey. And they don't think I'm now going to engage with this brand through digital PR. They don't think about channels in that way. They simply experience a series of moments. And so they may see your brand on social media. And then once they see your brand on social media, they may search for your business again, like with just the business name. And then when they search your business name, sometimes your Google business profile comes up, and then they'll read the reviews that come through to see people who have already used your service and what they're talking about and how they felt after they used your product or service. And then if you get good scores and good ratings, they probably will visit your website and then compare you to some of your competitors who offer those similar services. And then they might get distracted and go back to Facebook and Instagram. But then at some point, they may see one of your paid ads. And so they'll click on it, and then they'll come back to your website and then finally book or buy or inquire and ask a question. And so this is essentially how your marketing needs to work together. Now, I know it's a straight line here, but customers don't actually move in a straight line. This is probably actually more like a roundabout where people are going around and they take different exits. But the point is, if your marketing is disconnected, then the customer journey becomes disconnected too. And you want all of these channels to speak together. So what do we mean when we say cross-channel marketing? Well, Cross-channel marketing means using different marketing channels together to guide your customers from awareness to action. And so it means that uh, essentially every channel should have a job, right? And so if you, for example, if you have a paid search campaign, your paid search campaign might be there to capture people who are ready to act, ready to buy your service right now because that's what they went to Google for, to find the solution to their problem. SEO, you might have an SEO strategy, and that might be there to build long-term visibility for your business and to answer customer questions through the content. And you may even use like display advertising just to keep your brand top of mind in front of people and to build up that trust. And so the key here is that not every channel is going to do the same thing, but every channel should have and support the goal that you have as a business. Now, the goal that you have as a business might be different depending on your business and where you are in your business journey. It might be to have more inquiries, more bookings, more quotes, more store visits. Whatever the goal, your channels should be working together to make sure that people are moving closer to that outcome. And that's where the four-step practical framework that we're going to talk about today comes in. Now, again, I know I'm going pretty fast, but the session's being recorded, and you'll get this in your email within 24 hours, so you can go back and replay the bits that you need. But also, if you have questions, feel free to go to that same area where you introduce yourself in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer as many of those questions as I can towards the end of today's session. So let's focus on the four practical steps, right? I'm going to cover this at a high level right now, but then I'll go into each one in more detail. So the first step in our four-step framework for a cross-channel marketing strategy that converts is number one, understanding your audience and their intent. Step two is giving each channel a clear role. Step three is aligning your messaging across the customer journey. And then the final step is measuring what actually matters. And so you can't have any framework related to digital advertising without measuring, because that data is so important. And that data is what's going to help inform the optimizations that you make in order to make your campaigns better. And so this framework is designed to help you move away from having disconnected activity to more toward a joined up marketing approach that supports your business outcomes and those goals that we talked about on the previous slide. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into step one. The first step in this four-step framework to cross-channel marketing is building a cross-channel marketing strategy that in which you understand your audience and their intent. And I know that sounds simple, but this is often where a lot of campaigns go wrong, because a lot of businesses start with the channel first. They think, oh, well, how do we get on Google? Or maybe we should be on Facebook. Or I heard all the Gen Zers were on TikTok. Maybe we should try TikTok. And so all of those are useful questions, but they're not the best starting point. The best starting point actually is getting your team together and asking them questions like the ones you see here. Questions like, who are we trying to reach? And what are they trying to do? What's their problem? What's their pain point? How urgent is their need? Are they looking to do something about it today, or are they just comparing and doing some research? If they're doing research, what information do they need, especially before they take action? And so the key idea here is to know that just because a customer who is becoming aware of a problem that they have, they're probably at a very different stage than someone who is aware of the problem that they have and they're trying to do something about it. And those two different people at the two different stages of the buyer's journey require a different message. And so you want to make sure that the message that you're conveying on that particular channel is in alignment with that. So, for example, I think this is a really good example too. So, someone who's searching for, let's say, best restaurants in York could actually just be looking for ideas. Um, they haven't set any plans yet. They're just trying to see what type of food places they have in York. Whereas someone who might search private dining in Leeds may be a little bit closer to booking. Uh, Private dining, that means that, okay, they know that the place that they want to go to, once they want to have a certain vibe, a certain ambiance, they want to have a private setting where they can just talk with their group and maybe it not be so loud. So they are further along that decision journey. And then someone who just searches your company name probably already has some type of familiarity with your company, with what you offer. Maybe they just forgot your website and they just need to type in your name to get to your website. They're ready to take action. And so all of these just convey the different types of intent that audiences have. And so your intent or their intent should shape your channel strategy. And so a winning strategy, a winning cross-channel marketing strategy starts with their customer intent and not necessarily, oh, we need to be on Facebook, we need to be on Twitter. It's not channel selection first, it's customer intent first. So that is step one. Step two is once you understand the intent that your customers are probably have when they're searching, now in step two, you want to give each channel a clear role. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that we see businesses make is expecting every single channel to do every single thing um, that they want done, right? So a person may come to us and say, well, we want to do social media advertising because we need some immediate sales right now. Or they might expect SEO to deliver some instant results. Or the same thing with paid search or display advertising. A lot of times people put all the goals that they have of their business on the backs of whatever the marketing strategy is. But different marketing channels work in different ways. And the job of your strategy is to understand the role that each one of these marketing channels, plays. So, for example, paid search. Paid search is often very effective at capturing existing demand. And so, if someone is actively searching for a service, a product, a location, or a booking opportunity, paid search can help you appear right at the moment when they're ready to act. SEO, search engine optimization. This is a really good marketing tactic to use that'll help your business build that long-term discoverability because it's going to allow your business to show up when people are researching, when they're comparing, when they're asking those questions about their pain point that could eventually lead them to the product and services that you offer. That's what SEO is good for. Social media. This is advertising on, channels like Facebook, Instagram. These channels are great because they help create familiarity and engagement between your business and this online community. It can help introduce your brand to new audiences. It's an opportunity for you to showcase your brand's personality and just to build that community. Display advertising. I talked about how businesses that work with us can also showcase their display ads across the NewsQuest news brand websites. Well, display advertising is really good because it helps keep your brand visible, especially when people, decide they aren't ready to immediately take action on, what they came to your website for. And then we also have things like digital PR and even email as a part of the marketing mix as well. Digital PR is something that we've been talking a lot about recently because it helps your business build that authority and trust. It can earn you media coverage in local newspapers and online news brands, which is really important because those types of things generate backlinks and credibility signals that then go to these AI tools and search engines that says this business is credible and you should show them in the search results. So when these channels work together, that is when your entire cross-channel marketing strategy is really strong. When you start to look at these channels separately, that's when your marketing strategy can feel fragmented. So I know it's a lot here, but I'd be curious to know if anyone here, are you activating any of these particular social media, I'm sorry, these digital advertising tactics for your campaigns so far? If so, just let me know in the chat. So maybe your business already has paid search, maybe you're interested in SEO, whatever tactic you're implemented or interested in, just put it into the chat and I'll see that here. Okay, great. Yep. I see we've got someone who says, yep, they have a paid search campaign going on. Yes, paid search, SEO, social display. All right, all the whole mix. Well, that's good. Someone says, no, we just have a website looking to get started on some of these other tactics. All right, very good. Yeah, so when you receive this PowerPoint slide, you'll be able to click through each one of these and you can learn more about what the tactic is and essentially how our team can support you as well on implementing that particular tactic. The third step in this four-step framework of a cross-channel marketing strategy is aligning your messaging across the customer journey. Now, this is where a lot of campaigns become disconnected because a business may run one message in paid search and then another message on social and a different message on their website and a completely different message in their follow-up emails. And from the business's perspective, you may have a reason for doing that, maybe because it's just separate campaigns. But from the customer's perspective, it's all one brand experience. When they see your brand on social media, when they see your brand on display ads, they're just going to remember your brand. And so your messaging needs to feel connected. And so that means that the message that the customer sees should make sense for wherever they are in their customer journey. And so for someone at the awareness stage, your message should focus on the problem or the opportunity, right? You want to tap into that pain point because they're still early in that journey. For someone at the consideration stage, your message might focus on proof points, benefits, reviews. You might want to show them testimonials of other people who have used your product or your service. You want to give them a reason to choose your business when they're at that consideration phase. And then that third bucket is for people who are at that conversion stage. These are people, they've gone through stage one, stage two, now they need you to tell them what to do next. You need to make their next step clear with that call to action. Book now, request a quote, speak to an expert, schedule a consultation. Those are the things that they need to see at that particular point. And so the important thing is to make sure that the message builds naturally from one step to the next, right? It should be a natural journey. A customer shouldn't feel like they're starting over every time they move from one of your marketing channels to another. And so if your ad promotes a specific offer, if it promotes an event that, for example, like your school has coming up, whether it's an open day or something like that, the landing page should immediately continue with that same message. Hey, you're interested in our open day at our school? Well, here's the information that you need, and click here to RSVP. If you have SEO, your content here needs to answer your customers' questions and the page shouldn't leave them stuck, right? The content on your website should genuinely help and guide them to that next useful step, whether that's learning more about a service or making an inquiry or booking a table. You should genuinely help them, and they should see value in reading that content. The same thing, social campaigns. Um, if you use that, especially if you're promoting something seasonal like Christmas bookings or a limited time offer, you want to make sure that once they come to your website, they see that same offer or that it's easy to find. And finally, things like display advertising. If you use that to retarget someone who has already visited your website, that creative ad should reflect what they were looking at on your website. And so if you've ever gone to a website and you were looking at shoes and then all of a sudden you're on social media and you see these advertisement for shoes, it's those businesses that are retargeting you with display advertising. They are continuing to advertise to you, as you continue through your journey through cross-channel marketing. So that's it. And that's how it should feel for the customers and prospective audience for your business too. Throughout the slides, I've got links and some references to blogs and other resources on our website. And so you'll be able to click through all of these again once you get the slides in your email. The fourth and final step for this framework for cross-channel marketing that actually converts is measuring what actually matters. Now, this is critical because cross-channel marketing quickly can become confusing if you're only looking at like surface level metrics. When I say surface level metrics, things like clicks, impressions, clicks, all those things, they do matter. But what businesses should really focus in on is what outcomes are you trying to influence? And so are you trying to generate leads, bookings, inquiries, phone calls? If you have a brick and mortar business, are you trying to, get visits there, repeat customers? Once you know the outcome that you're trying to influence, then you can really measure how each channel is performing according to the role that it was meant to play, right? So, for example, when you measure paid search, you want to look at things like conversions. When they click on the ad and they come to your website, are they actually converting into customers for your business? Cost per lead and click-through rate. So those are some things that you want to look at in addition to the impressions and the clicks of your paid ads. You want to look at these KPIs here. And we actually this is like hot off the press. Later on today, it's going to go live on our website, is our 2026 paid search uh, benchmark report. This is our third annual report of this nature in which we analyze hundreds of campaigns that are on our platform, and we deciphered, their cost per leads, their conversion rate, and their click-through rates. And so when you download this, you'll be able to see how your business compares across to the benchmark of other businesses similar to yours. And so again, you can see this on our website and also click through to this once you see the slides. I really encourage you to download this report. It's new, fresh data that you'll really find useful. And again, it continues. No matter what channel you are using as a part of your strategy, whether it's SEO, digital PR, social media advertising, display advertising, they all have specific KPIs that your business could be measuring and reporting on to evaluate how it is specifically performing. And so there's so much more that you can look at and measure aside from impressions and clicks overall to drill down into that. So the point is not to judge every channel by, the same metric. Every channel has its own metric. All right, so that's the 4-step framework for a cross-channel marketing strategy. I hope that's been helpful. I think the next thing I'd like to do is bring the framework to life with a real example from Cut Craft and Lucia Restaurants, right? So to give you some context about this company, they're a premium hospitality brand, and they operate in some really competitive UK city center markets. Uh, for example, Cut Craft is positioned as like a modern steak and dining experience with high quality food, design led interiors, and they have a strong appeal across locations including York, Leeds, and I think there's one in Manchester too. So if you've ever been to Cutting Craft, just let me know in the chat. Especially if you're in York, Leeds, Manchester, you probably have come across the restaurant. And then Lucia has a slightly different brand story. It's an established restaurant brand, and they have strong local roots in York and Beverly, and they're known for their experiential dining. And so they have a very large local loyal audience of diners. And so when they came to work with Local IQ, the strategy definitely couldn't be like a generic strategy. The goal was not just to help them get more clicks, but it was to turn their digital visibility into like real demand for their restaurants, which meant more bookings, more footfall, stronger local visibility, and support for like some of their new locations that they would be opening up as well. So not just their existing locations, but some of their new locations. And so that meant that we had to connect their paid search, SEO, digital PR, display, and social advertising efforts all around how people actually choose restaurants, right? So we had to capture their demand, make sure that their restaurants came up when people were looking for restaurants, even though they may not have necessarily known the type of restaurant they were looking for. So we had to do all these things in this particular campaign. I won't go into every single tactic that we did, but I do want to call out just a few um, tactics so that way you can kind of picture your industry and sector in this framework that we're talking about. When it came to paid search had a very clear role in this particular campaign. We wanted to capture people who were already looking for somewhere to eat, somewhere they needed to, they needed to make a booking so they could have a celebration, And when it came to this campaign, the audiences were not all the same. For example, in York, Cut and Craft needed to reach like tourists with high intent, right? And then in Leeds and Manchester, the focus was on a more affluent local audience who were looking for premium dining experiences. And then they have the Lucia restaurant brand. And that strategy had to reflect like local, loyal diners, people who come regularly to celebrate different occasions or just tap into that seasonal demand. And so the ads weren't generic at all. And on here are examples of some of the paid search text ads that our team created. And these were built around the location, the timing, as well as, the intent that the user would have had when they're searching, as everything we just talked about. And so that is what made paid search work harder. And it showed up for people who are already very close to making a decision. I won't go into all of these metrics here, but you can see that there was some real strong performance that the campaign realized. But most notably, Cut and Craft, York, and Leeds grew from 112 leads. These are people going to their website and clicking that book now or schedule a booking button. It went from 112 to more than 2,000 just in a matter of like 2 or 3 quarters within the same year. And then also, you'll see that they had some really good CPC rates, as well as some good click-through rates. Because remember, I talked about how there are a lot more metrics to look at and compare beyond impressions and clicks. So we can see the click-through rate as well as the cost per click rate as well. So the key point here is that paid search became a demand engine for this business because we tapped into the real customer intent what they were searching for, where they were, things like that. Another tactic that was implemented for this campaign that I just want to briefly go over is display ads as well as social ads. And so, it's important to know that your customers, not every customer is going to book the first time they see your business, right? Especially a restaurant. They may come to the website, look at the menu, look at the venue. They may want to think about it. They may want to talk to some friends, and then they'll come back later. And so, in that case, that's the case in any type of pretty much transaction. And so, as it related to this premium dining experience, they use display advertising to keep Cutting Craft and the Lucia restaurants visible between those decision moments. And so they created these visuals that went across like news brand websites. This is what showed up across Facebook and Instagram. And so the key here is that a customer will probably see this type of social post when they're doing their social scroll, their doom scrolling, and they'll come across Cutting Craft and they'll remember, oh, I was just on that website, and then it'll bring them back into your your conversion funnel that you have. And then the last thing I want to cover is their digital PR tactic that we implemented. Now, digital PR helped strengthen the whole campaign by helping Cutting Craft and Lucia restaurants build credibility. And so this mattered because when when people are choosing a place to eat, they don't just, choose somewhere to go. They look at all the credibility, they look at the reviews, they look at what people are saying about it, and how their friends will feel, who are coming with them on that particular occasion. And so with this particular campaign, we were able to, and that's what digital PR is how do you get your business in the news, right? Around all the topics that are being talked about in mainstream media. And so for this particular campaign, our digital PR experts at Local IQ were able to help inject Cut and Craft and Lucia restaurants into articles about the UK Christmas markets and even the autumn budget that was getting released in last November. How do you get your business into those types of conversations in the news to the point to where it can bring customers into your store in your brick and mortar? That's what our digital PR team does. And so they've got some really good results there as well. So let me go here now to just kind of map out like how this particular campaign fits into that four-step framework that I just showed you a few minutes ago. And so the first is that Cut and Craft and Local IQ, we had to understand the audience, right? Cut and Craft and Lucia restaurants, they both had different audiences because they were different brands, they were different locations. And so the strategy had to make sure that we considered those differences. Step two, we had to give each channel a very specific role. And so I took you through the digital PR role, the paid search, and display advertising, and talked you through that. And then the third step is we had to make sure that we aligned that message across the journey. And so no matter whatever point a person saw the business brand, it was continuing the message from which they left, right? And so, and our goal was to get them back into that conversion funnel for the restaurant. And then the final is I showed you the conversion metrics that were being looked at. We went deeper than clicks and impressions, and we measured leads, we measured bookings, the cost per click, click-through rate. We measured backlinks when it came to how many times a news brand featured Kite and Craft or Lucia restaurants in their newspaper or website. And all those things tied together made for a real connected cross-channel marketing strategy. And essentially, that's what you're striving to do with your business, making sure that all those channels are connected. All right, so as we close, I know I've gone through a lot very quickly, but again, sessions recorded. You'll be able to go back and replay it and slow it down as you see fit. But let's now focus on you and your business. Um, so I think the best way to do it is to talk about first the things that you shouldn't do, right? The mistakes that we typically see that you want to try to avoid. And the first one is just trying not to be everywhere all at one time. The first mistake that we see is that a lot of businesses try to spread their budget too thin, right? It can be very tempting to try to make sure that your business is on every single platform. But if your budget is so diluted, no channel has enough investment to perform properly. And so it's better to choose the right channels for your audience and the right channels for the objectives that you have versus to try to be everywhere at one time. So if you only have, £1,000 to invest every month, you might just want to look at whichever channel will serve that immediate objective and that budget. The second mistake that you want to try to avoid is using the same message everywhere. And so if you do have the budget and resource to do a few different channels in your cross-channel marketing strategy, you want to make sure that your message is consistent, but it should also not be identical across every channel. And so you don't just want to copy and paste the same text, the same creative across all channels, because every channel has a different message and a different person at a different stage in that buyer's journey. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's consistent but unique and personalized. The third mistake that we see often is you can have a really great marketing campaign and get a lot of traffic, but the mistake is when you send all that traffic to a landing page that is slow, or maybe it's outdated, or maybe your website is just difficult to navigate. And so you're already going to lose people that you pay to attract if your website's performance is of such. And so you want to make sure that you also have a good website landing page experience as you're bringing traffic to it. Otherwise, you'll be working against yourself. The fourth mistake is focusing only on vanity metrics. So again, we've talked about that a lot. Clicks and impressions are very useful, but they don't tell the whole story. And so you really should try to understand how your marketing is contributing to the other metrics that make sense to your business, like leads, revenue pipeline, bookings, inquiries, and communicate that information to your marketing team and the agency that's working with you, so that way they can know how effective the strategies and campaigns are for your benefit. And then the fifth and final mistake is ignoring seasonality and timing. And so uh, customer demand changes throughout the year, no matter what type of business you're in. And you can have peak seasons in the summer during half term. Maybe the peak season for your business is around tax time. And so whatever the peak seasons and those seasonality changes are for your industry, you should make sure that your campaign strategy, your ad creative changes right along with it. So hopefully, looking at these five um, tips is helpful for you as you start to put yourself in the mindset of, okay, how do I apply everything that we just talked about in this webinar to my business? Um, the further is you can, well, I guess I should say another next step, a good next step as you're thinking about, okay, how do I start to action this, is to simply audit your current marketing activity. Okay, so before you do anything, you should just stop, take a pause, and ask yourself some of these questions here. Questions like, which channels are we already using? What role are they playing? And are the channels connected, or are they operating separately? What's the content and the messaging that's going out on the channels across these, across the ads, across content and websites? And is it aligned? You want to ask questions like, um, are you measuring the right outcomes as relates to your business? And so if your business, um, if your focus is on revenue generation and actual sales, then how are the ads leading people to that particular portion of your funnel, or are they dropping off? So these are questions that you want to think about and ask before you begin to, do anything, because again, you want to make sure that you're focused on strategy and productive campaigns to help support that. On the topic of creating that audit, so once you sit down and you ask yourself some of those questions, another next best thing that you could do, especially like right after the webinar, is on our website we have a SEO audit. And when you go to it, you just type in your website address and it'll give you a score as to how your website is performing across a number of different factors, from SEO to even your AI visibility, whether or not your website is coming up in AI search. And when you get this SEO audit score, it'll give you some points that you can then take back to your team and say, hey, okay, we just did this SEO audit, and this is where it's saying that we could do better in X, Y, and Z. And then those points can become your starting point for how you then begin to implement the cross-channel marketing strategy for your business. So a lot there. I just put that link in the chat. And so you can even do that as we move forward with the webinar for just a couple more minutes here. So that is the content for today. Hopefully that was helpful. You've got what cross-channel marketing is, a four-step framework to implementing cross-channel marketing. And then I also showed you a really good illustration of what it should look like in practice, going through the case study with the Cut and Craft and Lucia restaurants. And then moving forward to like what you should do next, definitely start with the audit, ask yourself those questions, think about those things that you don't want to do, conduct the SEO audit for yourself on the Local IQ website, and then use that report to go to your team and say, okay, here are some action items for us. And if you need assistance and if you get stuck, we're definitely here to support you along the way as well. As I go to questions, I'm also going to put in the webinar section a poll. And with this poll, you'll be able to give us feedback on today's webinar, but also at the end, also at the end, you'll be able to let us know whether or not, there it is, you would like assistance from a local IQ expert to implement your own cross-channel marketing strategy, or if you have questions and you want to go a little bit more specific than what I was able to cover today, you'll be able to do that with one of our local IQ experts. All right, so with that, I'm going to go over just maybe 2 minutes to make sure I get some of the questions that have come through. And let me see here. Here's a good one. Thank you all very much for some of the questions that have come through. Okay, yep. So this question, can you explain again why customer intent should come before choosing your marketing channels? Yeah. So even if you already have your marketing channels like established, again, you should really think about, well, what the intent of the customers are, and also if you have the resource within your business to, fully manage the expectations of the customers on that particular channel, because different customers are at different stages of the journey. And so some people are researching, some people are comparing, and some are ready to act already. And so it's really important to understand what a customer is trying to do so that you can make sure that you choose the right channel to help them. So for example, if you have a YouTube channel, because video marketing is a part of your cross-channel marketing strategy. And Local IQ has a great video team too. So if you do want to, develop some good high quality videos, we can support you there. But you may not just want to put commercials on your YouTube channel. if you know that your customers are going there for how-tos and informationals or DIY projects, especially if you're like in the home improvement segment. And so you might want to use that channel to make sure you create specific how-to DIY content with your brand for that particular user intent. So thank you for that question. Good question. All right. Let's see. I think we have room for one more. Also, if I'm not able to get to all of your questions today, just stay tuned to our blog, and we'll make sure we publish a blog that has some of the questions that have come through today as well. All right. And one other question. Let's see. Here's one. Why should businesses measure more than the clicks and impressions? Yeah, again, clicks and impressions, those are high level metrics. You can see clicks and impressions typically through like Google Analytics, Facebook Insights if you're doing social media ads. But again, those don't always tell the full story. And so what you want to try to do also is to make sure that you embed, GA4, Google Analytics, events, so that way you can track conversions that take place too, the forms that are submitted onto your website. If you have a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce, you can connect those things as well. So that way, when you're looking at the performance of your campaigns, you can see a good end to end from the time they connect to your campaign to the time they actually make a purchase with your business. All right, great deal. Thank you, everybody. That's all the time we're going to have for the questions today. But thank you very much for joining our webinar today. I hope that this has been helpful. And again, I put the link in the chat for the SEO audit on our website. I want to encourage you to definitely do that. It's a free tool. You just type in your website address and you'll get your results very, very quickly. And so I think that's it. We'll hopefully see you on the next webinar. And thank you very much for joining us today.